We're hearing a lot these days about the dumbing down of America because of the internet. And we seem to be fulfilling something that Marshall McLuhan in his The Medium is the Message, and Neil Postman with his Amusing Ourselves to Death prophesied years ago. They were speaking about television as a medium. The internet seems to be even more of an influence on our culture than television was. But what they were saying is that when we communicate by television or by the internet, the primary medium is the image. And what they meant by that was that we're looking at video. Animated pictures, basically. And what that involves is significantly different from what happens when we're looking at words on a page. When we're looking at a picture, whether it's a motion picture, as they used to call it, a movie, or a fixed picture, like a photograph on a wall, there is something about that that appeals to what we find beautiful or what we find moving. But what is happening when we look at a picture is completely different in that it's not really a cognitive activity. It's not thinking, it's seeing. Through seeing, we imagine. Through seeing, we may enjoy something beautiful. Through seeing, we are relating to something as an object, but we are not primarily being given something to think about. We're not being given an argument. We're not fueling, in a sense, reasoning itself. So the medium of the image, television, the internet, and so forth, and the medium of the word, which has to do with reason and thinking and argument, are two different mediums. And what those two different mediums do to us in terms of how we learn and what we're interested in learning is really significant. One of the things that we tend not to talk about when we look at the falling scores when it comes to standardized testing of high school students, let's say, is we don't factor in television and the internet as part of what makes it difficult for students to settle down and read and think and study. It's sort of like the difference between when a child would prefer eating chocolate ice cream over eating their vegetables. The internet and television represent the chocolate ice cream. It's easy, it's sweet, it's enjoyable. We're just looking at thing after thing. It's like we're experiencing things visually. But on the other hand, the vegetables represent what's good for us. And we are helped in a way that images can never do for us. We are helped by the Word. Truth comes to us by the Word. Facts, information that we need, come to us through the Word. If our mind is conditioned by a life where we're mostly being shaped and conditioned by video, our tendency will be to find anything that involves reasoning or thinking as boring. We just won't have the mind for it. And so part of what's happening in America, when they speak about the dumbing down of America, is that we're being so conditioned by the image that we simply have no interest in the Word. And that's actually a profound commentary on the downward pull toward ignorance. We become increasingly ignorant because we have no mind, we have no heart for learning. We lose the capacity to enjoy something that is intellectual in nature. And there is a pleasure to intellectual activity. It's just at this point, because we've gone the easier route of visual activity, we haven't really taken the pains or undergone the discipline or whatever to learn the pleasures of intellectual activity. Now, as soon as we start talking about this, some people are going to say, well, you can't turn back the clock, and you're just telling us that new technology is to somehow be ignored and we're supposed to live in the past. I'm actually not saying that. What I'm saying is that the technology presents challenges. It has advantages and it has disadvantages. I'm suggesting that if we look at what it can do and what it cannot do, and if we consider the value of intellectual activity and compare it with mere visual activity, or at least activity is primarily visual, we will see that if we don't value the things that we can gain through intellectual activity, that in the long run, we're going to suffer for it as a society.